Jon Simmons from Balance Composure. I've wanted him on the show for quite some time, not only because Balance Composure is probably one of my favorite bands around right now that is quote-unquote new, even though they've been at it for, 5-6 years or so. They're just absolutely incredible. And Jon, he's always been a really nice guy to me. We've had some interactions in the past, but I've always felt that I wanted to know that much more about him because I felt like he's kind of a reluctant front man. I wanted him on. I was really excited about it. Without further ado, here's our conversation. Kind of where I got introduced to the band and just, your own musical output. And I mean, my first experience was your very, very first EP. And I know you'll probably apologize for that, but it's okay. It was one of those things I totally downloaded on a whim. I think it was maybe just because I heard the band's name starting to bubble up. Not to mention I was a fan of the fact that you were from Doylestown and you were representing it. I've been to that area. My old band Taken toured with This Day Forward all the time. And so I spent the night.
Very lucky.
Yes, they're
This Day Forward's amazing.
Such a good band. And so, when all those dudes relocated to Doylestown, and actually Nick, who plays in Circa, him and I play together in Taken. So that's that connection too.
Oh.
Yes.
New fact.
Yes.
Awesome.
There you go. But so, anyways, you combine all those things, and I was like, okay, I'm going to check out this Balance Composure band. And then I remember seeing the artwork, and I was like, that's probably some of the worst cover art I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's perfect for a band's first release, obviously. And of course, with all that being said, I was like, this artwork looks terrible. I don't know how this music could be good. But then I remember listening to it and I was like, yo, this is pretty good. For what, a band's first release, I was like, okay, I'm interested to see where they're going to go from here. And then obviously subsequent releases, I kind of got painted a, clearer picture. Yeah. So that was my first intro. And I'm sure that's obviously why you guys keep the first EP, very under wraps, where it's like, that was us being kids.
What first EP?
Yeah. I love that. No questions about that, please. Do people still bring it up pretty regularly?
Not as much anymore, but yeah, we still get some.
Yeah.
But what's funny is we played Alone for Now on some shows because people have been telling us to play that for years. It's the main song. We're like, which songs do you want to hear? Everyone's like, Alone for Now. We're like, really? So we started playing it at the beginning of the tour, and people weren't even that psyched. So we're like, okay, we're not gonna play this ever again.
You're like, okay, this is our headlining tour. We're going to go deep in the archive, and no one's responding.
No one's responding. That's the only song we'd play off that record. But, we were playing it, I'm like, people are bored. I'm bored.
Right.
It's not a song I want to sing ever again.
Anytime you can actually, I don't know if this happens to you often, but I mean, it's anytime I actually could comprehend a thought on stage, that means something's wrong. If I could actually be like, oh, wow, I can hear myself, that must mean it's a really good sound system. So if you were thinking, this is boring, that must have been really, really boring.
Yeah, I thought so.
You tried.
Yeah, we did. We just, we're kind of glad that we're not really feeling it. Because it threw my voice out too. It was just a nightmare of a song for me.
Well, there you go. Now you can be like, all right, we did it. Now no one will ever ask us about it again. Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
So you yourself, were you born and raised in the Doylestown area, or where did you come up as a little child?
Well, I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I lived.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I lived there for 8 years, and we moved to Janison, PA, which is right near Doylestown. Pretty much is Doylestown. So, yeah, okay. I've been there ever since. And I live a half an hour away from it now, but.
What was your family structure like? Were your mom and dad there? Do you have any brothers and sisters, and what prompted the move from Nashville?
My dad's job was the move.
Okay, what did he do?
He's a vice president for nuclear plant. They build nuclear plants.
Oh, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because
I guess I've never really thought about it. That is a pretty big deal.
Because you're used to it. It's your existence. And I say it, my stepfather, he's a veterinarian. And anytime I bring that up, people are like, oh, that's rad. And you're like, oh, yeah, that is cool. He saves animals and stuff.
No, that's much more rad than vice president. I don't really know much about his job, though.
Yeah.
But I just know he had to travel a lot. So I was basically living with my mom and my three sisters. I got three older sisters who are 8 or 9 years older than me.
Oh, wow. So you were the
Yeah, I'm the baby.
So you were the accident of the family, obviously.
Exactly.
Or actually, maybe I'll put it more. Maybe I'll put it more like you were a gift. You were a present.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, it's still to be determined.
Yeah, we'll see.
Got it. So you were. I mean, by that time you were kind of on your own because on your own in the sense of you didn't really have your sisters kind of wanting to hang out with you as you were growing up and stuff because they were already onto different things.
Yeah, very true.
And so
very true. Like they were about to graduate high school and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just getting ready for college and stuff. So it was basically me and my mom after they went to college and stuff. And
did your mom work, or is she just busy raising all of you people?
Oh no, she worked when she moved here. She wanted to work.
Okay.
Yeah, so my dad lived there for a while, and then they got divorced.
Oh, okay. So
when I was like 12.
Oh, okay. So shortly after the move, that's when your parents kind of separated.
Yeah, I never saw my dad that much, so like I just felt bad for my mom more.
You sound like and I don't use this in a derogative sense of the term because I myself am one where you're a total mama's boy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I kind of helped her through the whole process, like every night, just being there for her. She was a wreck for a while, and
sure,
killed me to see her like that.
Yeah,
it's my mama, you know.
Of course, and I'm sure because of that, you were just like completely pissed off at your dad. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a relationship with him now, or is he basically just kind of out of your life?
We're always trying to have a relationship. Well, now that I'm older, I feel like I want some memories with my dad, even though like I hated him for 8 or 9 years.
Sure.
Of my life, and I don't know, I'm just like I see him maybe once a year. He has a new family and stuff now.
So you just kind of do check-ins occasionally, just like, hey, Dad.
Yeah, we stay at their place when we're like touring and stuff. If like in the area, we'll swing by and stay. Like his family's really cool. Mm-hmm. They're from the Philippines. We brought them over here. Oh. They're really cool people. Yeah, it sucks to see him try and like he's just like he gets a redo of being a dad, and meanwhile,
hey, where were you for me?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, cool, because he's got a teenage son now. He's a great guy, but I don't know, it just sucks to see him raising another kid. I'm like, you didn't teach me anything that he knows. You didn't do any of the things
that you're supposed to do for a son.
Yeah.
No, I can empathize with you because my parents were divorced when I was really young. I was like, 4 years old. But there are definitely moments where it's like, I'm 32 years old now, and I literally learned how to shave fucking 6 years ago. Like, I had no idea how to do that. There's certain shit you just miss.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mow a lawn until like 2 years ago.
Wait,
I mowed my first lawn.
And that's like...
I didn't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah, and that's like a huge thing on the East Coast.
I know. It's a big deal over here.
Yeah, you got to buy your ride-on mower and everything like that.
Yeah, I learned how to tie my tie on YouTube.
Oh, I still do that. It's okay. Actually, the last wedding I went to a few weeks ago was the first time I tied a tie that I didn't have to look at the video, and I literally felt like I reached some milestone. Like, I just was like, okay. Well.
No, it was a great night. I was just knowing I could do it now. I'm like, I practiced for like an hour afterwards. I'm like, this is fun. I got it.
Yeah, you're like,
screw you, Dad.
Exactly. I have the internet.
The internet will raise me.
Exactly. Thankfully, we have that now. So, yeah, obviously, in the kind of the midst of the divorce, that was when you started to, start to go into junior high and high school and stuff like that. And so, what kind of kid did you find yourself being? Were you, were you into music at the time, or were you just kind of,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been into music forever. But like when I was going into 7th grade, I wanted to start a band. So I started my first band when I was like 13. I was really into like Reliant K, MXPX, like Christian punk.
Interesting. How did that?
Slick Shoes?
Oh, Slick Shoes. That's a great reference because that was total SoCal Christian punk at its finest.
Dude, that was my jam. So I was obsessed with those bands. I started this Christian punk band with some friends. We all kind of just started learning instruments when we were playing the band. Mm-hmm. We were called the Has-Beens.
Oh, dude, that's a great name. That's perfect for that genre.
So punk.
Because you were involved in the sort of Christian punk scene, like were you raised with the faith and everything like that?
Yeah, I was really religious until I say sophomore year. No, maybe junior year.
Okay.
I was really hardcore. Yeah, me and Andy played in the church band.
Oh, wow.
We led worship, man. And
was it Christianity or was it another sect of that?
Yeah, no, it was just like non-denominational Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely did the whole Lutheran thing for a while. Because I just went to private schools, mostly not just because my parents were overly religious, but mostly because just smaller class sizes. Like my mom was a teacher, so she understands that if you're not competing with like 50 other kids, my kid's going to get better attention, you know? But yeah, I definitely felt the pull of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. For lack of a better term, I still call myself religious. I hate the term spiritual because that makes you sound like...
No.
Yeah.
That's a common phrase.
Yeah.
Over in my household.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I just feel so... Yeah. I feel so hippie when I say that, though.
No, it's cool. I think it's cool. It's like the ones we can get away with.
Yeah.
That's not hippie. You're good.
I'm glad we bonded over that. I can obviously see why that style of music appealed to you, because it was like, oh, okay, this is like a message that I can identify with, coupled with music that's interesting.
Yeah.
Christian hardcore was like, you know, bands like Focal.
Yeah, Stretch Armstrong.
Oh yeah, Strong Arm. Whew, huge.
Yep. I was so into the scene. I mean, I listen to everything else. I listen to everything,
mm-hmm.
but that was like my stuff.
Right.
So I wanted to get a message out when I was younger.
Did you
about God?
Right. Did you ever buy CDs at a Christian bookstore or anything like that?
Yeah, my first CD I ever bought was Teenage Politics, MXPX, when I was 6 in Tennessee.
You were 6 years... Oh, wow. That's insane.
The cover looked so awesome.
Right.
So I got it.
Did you just go up to your mom and were like, I'd like this?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And she was cool with it. And, because, like, I was into skateboarding and stuff at the time when I was really young, too.
Wow.
So I love this act. Like, I opened the cover, like, went through the coolest collages, picture collages of them skating and stuff. So I fell in love with, like, the whole band and, like, I don't know, skateboarding. And
interesting. That's so funny that you were exposed, like, at 6. You looked at that and were like, that's cool. I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I mean, I liked Will Smith and stuff, too, back then.
Well, who didn't at the time? It was, Montel Jordan.
Yeah. R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly. I was a huge fan of that one.
That's good. Yeah, you were you were well-rounded, obviously.
Yeah, I appreciated a hook.
I like that. That translates very much with what you're doing now. So obviously by high school, you had already, like you said, you started your first band. From an early age, you knew you wanted to play in a band? Yeah.
It's just something I always loved to do. It was like my high.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the thing I could do because I hated school. I don't know. It was just like the one like outlet, I guess, for me.
Sure. By hating school, I presume you mean you just went to school, but you obviously didn't, quote unquote, apply yourself as many teachers would like them to do.
Yeah, I didn't apply actually 1 ounce myself. I barely got to school. Senior year, I was never there.
But you graduated high school?
Yeah, I don't know how I graduated. My last semester, I was absent like 12 times, and I had like 46 parties, and I had like 4 notes for them. So I shouldn't have graduated, but I did.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I always find funny. Like when you do,
I'm inspiring.
Yeah, totally. You're like, this is how much I can get away with and still graduate high school. So, and that's the one thing that always blows my mind. Anytime I meet somebody who like didn't graduate high school. Like they went, but they didn't graduate. And I'm like, what did you do? Because like legitimately, it's really hard to not graduate high school unless you just don't stop showing up. I get that. You got to do a lot in order to be like, all right, you're not passing.
Seriously, they don't want to hold anyone back.
No, they just want to get you out.
Graduating.
Yeah, they want to get you out of there.
Yeah.
The first band that you were doing, like you actually legitimately played shows, or did you just kind of play church parties and sleep-ins and stuff?
No, we started playing shows, and like we found the hardcore scene really young, at like 13.
Wow.
Or maybe 14. We went to like some shows and we're like, holy shit, this is awesome. And so we like asked if we could start playing shows with them, and they let this Christian punk band play with them.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was really cool.
So they kind of...
And they loved it. They sang along and everything. They're like atheists, like known atheists, and like, I don't know. That was cool. For a young kid, I was complete acceptance. It was really, really cool.
Right. It could have gone the whole other way where you start to try to play shows and people, because of your message or whatever, or just the fact that you were probably a terrible band, they were like, no. You're not going to play these shows. Yeah,
we were not good. But they let us play. They put us on every show that was happening, like every weekend.
That is great. And that's obviously speaks to the inclusive nature, we'd hope, the inclusive nature of, independent like punk and hardcore, because that's,
Exactly. So I'm thankful I found that whole scene throughout like my teenage years. That was like so important to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So as you started to navigate that, how did your more particularly your mom react to that? Were they?
My mom loved the Has-Beens. But
big fan.
She loved the Has-Beens because we were Christian and we're like doing our thing for Jesus, you know. But then, you know, I was a teenager too, so like I started being a teenager and started a band, the Election Kids, in high school.
Oh, so the Election Kids was after that, and you're a little cagey there. So when you mean being a teenager, basically you're just being like a little shit and partying, or what were you getting into that your mom?
I wasn't partying yet then.
Okay.
This is in like 10th grade. I don't know. I was just like into girls, and like my friends would do like stupid shit in town, and you know, like
pranks and stuff.
Like, we goof off. Yeah, stuff like that.
Sure.
We were little asshole kids,
right?
Maybe.
General mischievousness. I would classify that under. Sure. Nothing that is long lasting, but something that is like
no. It's just like a teenage. Yeah.
So was that more disturbing to your mom, or was it more disturbing when you?
I hid the band name from her for 2 years. I told her we were called Last One Back.
Wow.
Because she would hate the Election Kids.
Sure. And wait, are you saying
any mom would?
Are you saying the Election Kids or the erection, like a penis?
Erection, penis.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. Eric was also in the band.
Oh my God.
So.
This is gold. I mean, this is like it's one of those things where it's like it honestly kind of bums me out when I do these interviews and people tell me their first band is the band that they're playing in currently, or it was a really good band name, because I'm like, God, I don't feel like you got the full experience, man. Like you got to have
I agree.
You got to have a bad band name, or at least a good few years of doing just terrible shit.
Yeah.
And so were the Erection Kids of a similar vibe musically, or was it completely different than?
It was pop punk. It was like it was more like Screeching Weasel influence. It was like and Blink, like listen to Blink and NoFX and Screeching Weasel and stuff.
Got it.
And, like it was cool. Like we were big in Doylestown. Like we had like a lot of fun with that band. But and then my mom heard the demo. We put it split out with Pedal Fight.
Oh really?
Yeah, the Erection Kids. It's out there.
Oh man, that's incredible.
It's bad. I don't want people to find it, but
no.
I don't think they will.
Yeah.
But it's out there.
Sure.
Yeah, my mom heard the lyrics and stuff and heard me like cussing and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So she cried.
Oh, like did she like come to you and was like, John?
Yeah, she cried. She's like, this really disappoints me, and like,
dude, that must have been brutal.
It was awkward. And then the church band found out about it.
So you were basically you were kind of leading a double life there for a minute.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, like I was religious though. I was just like, I was like a normal kid, like.
Right. Well, you were just. I mean, I legitimately think that everybody has to go through that sort of phase in their life where they, something they were raised with, to be like, okay, is this something I truly believe, or do I believe a version of this that might not coexist with everybody else's belief? And so you were trying to navigate both of those waters without disrupting either of those worlds.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so then the worlds were disrupted, and then did you kind of?
Yeah. Well, one of the kids in the church that we were like, who's like a little bit younger than us, we come to Erection Kids shows, and he told his mom, and his mom told the people, and the people were like, all right, well, we can't. You got to choose. I'm like, Erection Kids. I did that throughout high school. I got kicked out of church.
Straight up.
Andy left right after because he couldn't do it without me, of course.
Right. So they literally said, John, you're not welcome back here?
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's...
Not to church, but like to be in the band, and like I just didn't want to go back ever.
Right.
Because I didn't want like people know now.
Sure. And see that like...
I didn't get out of the church, I got kicked out of the band.
Right. I don't know. To me, that type of stuff, I find always so, I don't know, in a way disheartening, because I feel like, I mean, obviously the message of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus is obviously like, he's trying to be inclusive. He wants everybody to hang out with him. And then I feel like what happened right there was like an example of obviously the complete opposite, where it's like, I understand the message you were getting across with the band didn't gel with, cool. Well, sorry, I can't have an original idea. It just bums me out when I hear that stuff, because it
bummed me out as a kid too.
For sure.
But I understood that I couldn't I didn't want to go to church anymore. I was like at the point where I didn't like church.
Sure.
Like I was done with it.
Right. And you kind of just took this as an opportunity to wash your hands of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You graduated high school. And did you have a sense that you wanted to like do anything else besides, play music, or did you kind of have your eyes on just?
No, I went to community college to see if I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh, really? What did you want to try to teach?
Yeah, I wanted to teach like elementary school.
Oh, okay.
But I did a semester and a half, and I don't know. I definitely didn't want to be there. I wanted to tour and stuff.
Sure.
That's Balance started senior year. So,
okay, got it.
Yeah, I wanted to tour.
And so when you started to, Balance obviously started to become more of your life, and you were kind of getting out there on tour. Because what was the first national tour you guys did?
Completely national was Bayside, Census Fail, Untitled Chapter.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I think that's where we first met, where I interviewed you in a playground.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was your first national tour, and so by that time, I'm sure you had to make that decision of whether to continue with school or whether this was something that you were just going to try to do as a profession.
Yeah, I dropped out right before that tour, 6 months before that tour.
Okay, I'm sure that was also a really tough discussion with your mom, or was she pretty much just like, well, he's going to do what he's going to do by this point?
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, a lot of people know the band just based off of, Separation obviously put you guys kind of on the map. And that's when really people started to be like, yo, this band's really good. And, you started to become more active from a touring perspective. How old are you now?
I'm 23.
Yeah. I mean, you're young. I mean, I'm 9 years older than you. But obviously we have a, common bond. It's not like, we have no idea what each other is saying, but but the concept of like, there's definitely this resurgence of quote unquote younger kids playing old dude music. But obviously it's also still translating to kids that are under the age of 25. Do you notice that as well? Where it's just like, okay, like we have people that are, 20, 21 years old, but then we also have people that are, 30 plus that dig what we do. Or is that something you just kind of, that's just an added benefit to the music you're creating?
I think it's cool. I mean, everyone to listen to it and be able to like relate to it. Like old, young, I think it's cool. If everyone can do that, I think that's what's cool about music.
Yeah. Do you notice it? Like, do you yourself notice it?
Yeah. I see old people at our shows. I see like young kids. So it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, all the cool peeps in the building.
Yeah.
all different ages.
Yeah, I know. I mean, because sometimes it's like, it's hard for you when you're playing in a band to separate yourself and be like, oh, wow, this is interesting that we're kind of bridging sort of two gaps. Because, there's like the common conception of people that play young music to only appeal to young people. Like, the whole stereotype of the Warped Tour. If you're over the age of, 25 at Warped Tour, you're like a grandpa. And so it's like, and obviously it's like you guys have played within that world, but you haven't like fully dove into it, Has that also been like a kind of a collective decision of the band to be like, not to say that, we'll never do Warped Tour, but like we don't want to be fully into that world, so to speak?
Yeah, well, we wanted to do it 2 years ago, and all our friends were on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we wanted to do it, but then we thought about it, and I don't know. I still think like we've done so much in that scene. Mm-hmm. I love that scene, but I don't think we fit into it. And I want to see, like, I want to do other things because we've been doing that for so long. Mm-hmm. I want to tour with other genres of music.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's like.
I mean, there's tons of music at the Warped Tour. So I mean, like, I don't necessarily want to be playing with like metalcore bands or. Right.
Well, I mean, there's.
You know what I mean? Or like bands I kind of hate, like that are playing, but there's also bands I love.
Right. Well, there's a
you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. I mean, it's like looking at a band like and this is obviously not trying to talk crap on anybody or knocking what they're doing, but looking at a band like Miss May I, there's very little correlation between what they do versus what you do. But then on the flip side, there's a band like you guys have obviously toured with Dredge, and those worlds are also still pretty different, but there's more sonic similarities to what you guys are doing with them than you and Miss May I. Besides, you have guitars. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like I don't know how a Warped Tour crowd would react to us. Mm-hmm. We're not like a lot of Warped Tour bands are like party. You can party rock. Like you can like have a great time.
Right.
Like jump up and down, mosh, and like people do that at our shows. That's cool, but I don't know. Like we just want to not. It'd be awkward. I feel like we'd be like bumming everybody out. This summer jamboree.
Right. You guys. you guys definitely have moments where you quote unquote rock, and then there's moments where you're obviously more reflective. And yeah, sometimes those reflective songs wouldn't go over well in that context. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Like,
not to blow too much smoke up your ass, but I definitely also think that and I personally would attribute it to the fact that, most of you dudes that are playing together in Balance have played together for a decent amount of time. Because you show a level of maturity, not only like in the music that you write, but then like, kind of how you are on stage too. People wouldn't immediately assume that you're under the age of 25, And I don't mean to harp on the whole age thing, but it's just like, I feel like you're playing music that's like, obviously a little more progressive than your average, early 20s. Like, because I look at myself, like when I was 17, 18, 19, I was barely being able to write enough lyrics to fit into a 4-minute metalcore song, and like you guys are definitely a little more, cohesive. So would you attribute to the fact that you guys are kind of all on the same page and you have been playing together for a while?
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine writing with 4 other dudes.
Yeah, it just happened to be that you guys all worked out that it's like, oh, we get along. And
yeah, we're all friends and like best friends actually. We hang out when we're home.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that is a rarity. There are so many There's so many bands that, and you can't fault them, where it's like after they've toured for so long that they're like, all right, we're going to live our separate lives. But there are very few bands that when they get home that they feel like they can still hang out with one another, like, and they don't need that like decompression time or whatever. So you guys do that where you just are able to hang out pretty quickly after you stop tour?
Yeah, I could hit up Bailey tonight, probably be like, you want to go to the movies? Like, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, I see Andy every day. Yeah, we'll hang out.
It definitely creates a different vibe within a band when you can really see that they are actual friends and not just kind of, a collection of random dudes playing music. It's obviously what you kind of want to start a band to begin with.
Yeah, like we started the vision together and we're carrying it out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And you, because I've seen you guys play now a few times, and watching you strike me, and like, no offense to you shouldn't take any offense to this, but you seemed like a reluctant frontman, where you were at one point or another, you were like, well, I guess I can sing and I can play guitar and I can kind of do this, like, but you don't seem like the person who's like, oh dude, I fucking love being the center of attention.
No, I kind of despise it.
And because of that, obviously, like, you're forced to do things that you probably make you feel uncomfortable. How did you progressively bridge the gap to, being able to do it and obviously not like loathe every second of it?
I stay away from interviews and stuff. I've tried to now, except for with you, because you're sweet.
Well, thank you. So you are pretty selective about putting yourself out there?
Now I am, because during separation, I was just like hated. I don't know, why do people care what I have to say?
Right. So you're like, why are you asking me these questions? Like, my opinion is pretty irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Like, I just don't like, I don't like it. I like singing. Mm-hmm. I like playing guitar and singing. It kind of sucks.
Right.
I mean,
you're like, you enjoy this activity, but then you don't particularly enjoy the the byproduct of it that's sort of thrust upon you because, hey dude, you sing for a band, so everyone wants to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm like not cool.
Right.
Yeah, I hate it. Not cool. And
that's it. That's interesting, because I do think that a lot of people suffer that. I mean, a lot of people get put into that same role of like, they enjoy components of being in a band, but then there's obviously certain byproducts of it that make them feel, like you said, uncomfortable or something, that you're just like, really? Like, I don't need to talk to this person again because they've already talked to me. Like, I already told them what's up. Yeah.
Yeah. Some guy tried to do like an interview like 3 months after I just had one with them. I'm like, no, what other question is there?
Right.
I'm excited for this tour that's coming up. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's true. I do feel like, I mean, obviously, especially email interviews and stuff, there's such a, I mean, without being mean to anybody, it's like, it's totally lazy journalism. And I use the word journalism in quotes because it's, I wouldn't even feel comfortable calling certain blogs that, that's obviously like why I do this podcast, because it's like, it kind of gets to the root of obviously why people do what they do. And I think that's way more interesting than like what the fucking new song sounds like that you're releasing. that story will come out eventually. Why a person does what they do, to me, seems a little more compelling overall than just, soundbite shit. Now that you're obviously, in a pretty successful band from the, outside perspective, how does your family react to that? And then I also, another interesting component is the fact that a lot of people always assume that, like you said, you just came from your job and you work. And a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, well, once you go on tour, like you never have to have a job again. How those two worlds of your family understanding what you're doing, and then obviously like kids assume that, you just sit at home and, count your dollar bills from the last tour.
Oh my goodness. My sisters and my mom are so supportive. It hurts. It's so good. I love it.
That's great. Do they come to shows and everything?
Yeah. I actually live with my sister right now.
Oh, nice.
Her and her husband. She let me live here for the past year and a half for free because I was so broke because of being on tour all the time and not working. So she offered I live here. So I've been doing that for the past year and a half, but I'm moving out next month. Really to live with some friends and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, my sisters have been really, really cool. They're always wearing our t-shirts. They're always like telling people about to download a new song or
that's amazing.
I don't know. So yeah, they're really cool. My mom checks Tumblr and
Really?
I barely check Tumblr. My mom checks it. Like she's way more in the loop than I am, and she'll just come up to me. She's like, Jonathan, this girl likes you. I'm like, Mom.
No. Holy shit. No way. That's incredible.
Horrible. But
she's like, John, I really think I could hook up a date with you through Tumblr with this girl who seems to like what you do.
I'm like, Mom, she's probably 16.
Dude, that's incredible. It's endearing though, because obviously it just shows like that, sense of pride that a parent has when their kid is doing something that, they want to do.
Yeah. She's really proud of me, and that's really cool. My dad doesn't really know anything.
Right. He's just like, oh, cool, here it is.
I doubt he's even listening to the CD, but he's like, oh, cool, proud of you. You know what I mean?
Right. He's not as committed as your mom is to obviously who you are as a person at this point.
Yeah, my mom is thrilled.
Because I'm sure a lot of people project a lot of stuff on you that you find absolutely hilarious, where it's like, oh, I must be this type of person, or I must be super depressed, or, I don't have a job at all. Like, what's the funniest shit that you've heard people project on you that's like, oh, this is ridiculous? There's like
some Family Guy like meme thing. Okay. And it's like, who hurt you, Jon Simmons, or something. It's like Frank's. I forget his name. But he's sitting on the bed and it's got like the separation. That's weird. That's weird stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I laughed at it. I think I even posted at it, but I don't really like it.
Well, yeah. I mean, no matter what you sit down and decide to write lyrics for, and obviously put it to paper and get it recorded and all that stuff, it's a process. And then sometimes by the time that you're done with that process, your feelings may have changed on that particular subject or that person or whatever it is that you've written, but then it's out there to the world. And that's something that's something you don't understand when you're 20 or 21 years old.
I write when I'm upset.
Mm-hmm.
I write when I got the blues. You know what I mean? Like, that's what comes out of me. I can't write a happy song. I don't know how.
Mm-hmm. You did that.
I don't know how to do it.
You did that when you were like 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah, I wrote all those.
So you got it out.
And
you got it out of your system then.
Yeah, I can write when something's wrong or something. So like it's kind of weird when people like keep crying, or like I get like stuff, like tweets like that and stuff. It's like, don't you want your music to have like emotions in it, be emotional?
Mm-hmm. That cuts you. It's like I mean, it's without sounding overly dramatic about it, it's like you're a human just as much as the next person. And sometimes the idea that you can just put something out there on the internet, I mean, even people that probably tweet directly at you, and it's just like, oh fuck, really? Thanks. Like, cool. I'll just go ahead and let that roll off my back.
Yeah. I won't respond.
But in reality, you're like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer. Like, I wish that wasn't out there.
Totally. There's lots of stuff like that.
Yeah. And so do you find yourself looking to other people for advice? Like, as far as like, other bands you've toured with, where you're like, dude, how do you ignore that shit? Because it's like, you look at other people and it's like they totally get hit way more with that, or you just try to adjust it on your own.
I adjust it on my own. I'm like, it's whatever. It's going to happen. People can say anything behind a computer, like whatever.
Right. You got to learn.
They don't know me. I'm like, well, what does their opinion really mean?
Look to ignore it, I guess. On the second part of that, like the conception that people probably think that, you're, you don't have to work and you're just, like I said, counting your merch money from the last tour and stuff like that.
No.
Do people have that idea of you, or is it one of those things that, people just don't even ask you about that?
People don't ask me about that, and that's good.
Yeah.
I don't think people assume that. I hope not.
Yeah.
That's definitely not what it is.
I mean, I've told this story on this podcast before, but I remember the band Mastodon, someone from the band, even after they were signed to Warner Brothers and theoretically, didn't really have to work jobs. He was working at like a bagel shop that he'd been working there for years, and he wasn't going to, he felt a commitment to that place and he enjoyed the job. So it's in between tours, he would still work there. And so
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's I think that idea of people being rooted in the real world create art in a way. Because I think that the moment that, you become so removed from reality where you're just, touring 340 days out of the year, and that's a different world.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm sure with the amount of touring that you've done, you feel really strange kind of transitioning back into real life in a way, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. It's hard. It's the first 2 weeks back at work are dreadful. I just started last week. It was my first week back since the headliner.
Right.
So we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just this is going to be my life the whole summer. But, it's okay. I can't complain. I got a job,
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think it does. Like I said, I think there's something to be said about, just kind of being involved in the life outside of the band definitely can help create art in places that you might not ever expect it to,
Well, I don't get really much inspiration from the office. But
you'd probably be surprised, man.
I get my inspiration on the weekends. I'm a weekend inspiration guy.
Yeah, that's when you drive out to your cabin in the woods and look at a lake and be super reflective about your previous relationships, right?
Yeah.
Because every song you write's about a girl, obviously.
Obviously. Everyone thinks they're all about girls.
That's what it's the safest thing to presume.
No, it is. And I guess it kind of is. It's hidden, what it's really about for my own sake, Yeah. The things they're about. But
do you ever feel like you have to be, I guess, overly cryptic in case there are people that obviously,
No, I do. Yeah, I can't make it a dead giveaway for some people to hear.
Right.
Or crush them.
Sure.
But say on the braid split, that was pretty brutal of me.
Because
I kind of regret it now. I think it's kind of mean.
One of the songs off the braid split was definitely kind of got back to you, so to speak.
No, I definitely was contacted about Say, but she didn't take it. She didn't take it that bad. But I don't know. I was just she heard it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's.
I didn't even really think about that day happening. I just kind of went with what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
But what's done is done.
Well, yeah.
And I like that song.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You're it's not like you go back on everything that was said. It was just because sometimes you just don't. You're in the moment and you don't think about those things, and then when it does come back to you, you have to pause for a second.
Yeah.
You're reflecting. It's that's happening currently.
But a lot of what I write about is usually on a spiritual sense. It's not. There's songs about girls and relationships and stuff, but there's songs about trying to find God again, or being angry at him if he's real,
sure,
if he really you know what I mean? There's a lot of that.
It definitely strikes me. I mean, you definitely strike me as a person who, you're introspective and not in a I'm just gonna look at my shoes and ponder what life means sort of way. It's you're actually wanting to find some sort of answers from that
meaning.
Yeah,
purpose.
For sure. I mean, and I think everybody stumbles through that pretty much their entire lives, but you obviously are given a platform in which you can, get it out there, and it can be a little more cathartic for you to do that. Well, that's interesting. That's cool. I honestly never read into your lyrics as far as being a more sort of overarching sort of spiritualness to it.
Yeah, it's definitely a hint of it. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't know. I'm not religious anymore. I haven't believed in God in years, but I want to.
You're open to, yeah, you're open to the idea.
Yeah. I want something to live for.
Sure.
But I don't have anything right now. That's it's kind of a lot of things are me calling out to something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You looking for something substantial to hold on to that, you feel can guide you through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like I was saying earlier, I mean, that's definitely a mature thought. I think that's definitely part of your, early 20s where it's you start to feel you have the first stages of kind of becoming an adult, you feel like all these things that you knew as a teenager or late teens or early 20s, and then that stuff starts to kind of change on you. And I feel you. I know what you're going through.
Yeah. Good.
You're not in this alone.
Good.
You got plenty more years to work on that. And sort of to, wrap things up, because I could probably talk to you for another 7 hours if you wanted to. There definitely is a concept within the, of independent music, of the idea of, like selling out. And obviously, even though that idea has become less and less, I totally remember, and I don't know why this example comes up in my head, but I don't know if you remember this, but a couple years back, that band Cartel from Georgia, they did that, they worked with Dr. Pepper, where they recorded that entire record.
Yeah, in a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah.
I was selling out.
Exactly. So it's like, that's like the easiest comparison, where it's like, oh yeah, you look at that and it's like, well, yeah, it's a cool experiment, but dude, fucking pretty soulless. Let it be known that I'm a fan of that band, and their new record is pretty fucking good. But with that being said,
I loved Chroma.
Dude, listen to their new record. Straight up, like, it has so many elements of Chroma that can make you just like, you can totally rejuvenate your faith in the band. I promise.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I will.
Because I wrote them off for a long time too. That was a free plug for Cartel. Don't worry, Will. You can go ahead and send me a check. So, like, does that just because you do play a style of music that obviously could sort of translate to a world where you do have to make those decisions, where it's like, oh man, like, we don't want to be featured in this commercial or whatever the case may be. Are those conversations that you guys have preemptively, or do you kind of just take it like a case by case basis, where it's like, we don't feel comfortable about this tour, we don't feel comfortable about this, promo experience or whatever?
Yeah. We don't like to do anything we wouldn't do normally,
Mm-hmm. If something gets presented to you, and if anybody in the band kind of has a concern about it, you guys not immediately throw it away, but you already are pretty skeptical that you'll do it?
Yeah. I mean, like, we get offered tours, and I don't know, if we don't like the band on the tour, it doesn't matter, like, what size of the band they are. Like, we don't like their music, we're not going to go watch it for 2 months,
mm-hmm.
But there's also times...
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I that was something that was on my mind with you guys too, because you guys are definitely in this interesting position. There's a few different categories of bands as far as like the whole industry or touring world is concerned. There's the total, what I define as like the band's band. They may be amazing dudes, great to tour with, but they don't really draw any kids. But they're really good. Yeah. They're a really good band. Like the epitome of that to me was a band from a few years ago, Code 7. They were incredible, but that just no one ever cared about what they did from a larger perspective.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
Right. And so you guys, I think, combine both of those worlds, where it's like you're a band's band, where bands like to tour with you because they like you, you're good musically, you're good dudes to tour with. But then on top of that, you actually can pull a few kids in certain cities and, around the country. So because of that, you're probably going to get a lot of tours that you're just like, we would never tour with this band. Like, I mean, I guess it'd be good for our quote unquote career if we did it, but we would just feel weird about it. So is it mostly on the touring front that you guys have to make those really tough decisions to kind of say no, even though it may make sense career wise?
We've never been had anything like that come up. I mean, we've had the big tours we've accepted, we wanted to do, circa. I mean, there's also great tours that we get offered that we would love to do, and we can't because we're already committed to something else.
Okay.
At the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's so many tours we wanted to do, and we couldn't. And our friends' bands have gotten on it, and it's awesome.
You're supportive overall. You're like, good job. We couldn't do that tour, but glad you got that.
No, it's awesome because our scene is I don't know. It's like the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's amazing.
And you definitely feel that, where it's like, it really does seem like a swelling of bands that on the same page and like-minded, but sound different. I mean, you obviously
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, all the bands that you've grown up with, and then other bands that get included, Touche, La Dispute, Title Fight, all those bands are all doing their own thing, can all kind of be on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
And you definitely feel that yourself, where it's like you notice, and it's like, oh, this is kind of a thing that's happening right now.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It's great to see your friends do well that you toured with, because you've been there, you played in basements with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You played with no one there, and I was doing these bomb ass tours with bands we grew up listening to.
Right, which is awesome.
It's the coolest thing I've been a part of. as a human being so far.
I like that you have that attitude, because obviously there's this weird level of sort of competitiveness that is just
Yeah.
yeah.
But with the bands that we're friends with, I feel like there's none of that. It's all just encouraging good vibes, and that's what I really. Everyone's good people. Like we don't friend shitty people.
Right. I like,
you know,
that's good. It's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
Well, Jon, like I said, I could talk to you for another 7 hours, but I'm not going to do that to you, because that would be mean and punishing. But
we should do this more. This was great, though.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had a feeling you would, and you were able to express yourself in non-soundbite manners.
Exactly, and this is the best interview I've ever done.
You know, that makes my cheeks rosy. I'm embarrassed. Thank you, Jon.
Awesome, Ray. Thank you so much.
No problem, Jon. I'll talk to you soon, man. All right. So there's Jon in a nutshell. What he said to me after the interview, because I sent him this raw, unedited version. To me, this summarizes exactly why I do this show. I love to have the people, the interview subjects, and I wouldn't even call it interview, but the subjects of the podcast to come back to me and say, you know, that was one of the most fun, interesting, compelling interviews that I've ever done. And to me, that's so rewarding, because essentially that's what I'm trying to do. I want the person to have fun. I want the person to reveal stuff about themselves that essentially pulls back the curtain of obviously whatever sort of artistic facade that a band has to put up, either for their fans or whoever, or they just need to put it up because that's kind of the way the music industry works. So yes, needless to say, Jon's feedback on this interview was absolutely incredible, and just kind of, you know, really cements it home to me why this show is important to selfishly me, but hopefully to the people such as yourself who are listening in your cars, on your phones, wherever. That's the point of this. I want to create this time capsule. I want to create this snapshot of independent music and culture that a lot of people just don't either pay attention to, don't think that there's anything of worth, whatever the case may be, why this isn't being documented in the sort of podcast form. Because obviously there are millions of other mediums, such as magazines and records and record labels, that this is being, like I said, archived. But I feel like this is, it's special. It's special to me. And I appreciate you for taking the journey with me on this. Anyways, visit propertyofzach.com. Visit 100wordspodcast.com. And until next week, be safe, and another amazing show is coming up.